Like and subscribe right now, or this will be in your bed tonight. Hello and welcome back to ProRevenge. Before we start, please scroll down and click like and subscribe. This means that you will get more videos from me. Please like and subscribe with notifications on, and it will really help me out. Thanks. Landlord tries to keep us in a mold house. We get his place condemned by the city, so this is my first ProRevenge post. I've lived in a lot of awful places throughout my college years, but this was one of the big ones. It's pretty long. Just to warn you, I had recently moved into a house with 2 other girls. It wasn't the best house, but seemed to look okay for a college apartment. One of the girls had a friend who had lived there before and told us that the landlord was sexist and kind of a dick, but usually meant well, and it was decent rent. I'll be referring to him as dumbass landlord. We were all broke, so we decided to sign a lease. I should have realized the warning signs when dumbass landlord wanted to sign it in a Big Boys after he had just eaten dinner there and the leasing agreement looking like he chopped it up from other pictures of lease agreements on Google. We also found this apartment as an ad off of Craigslist. Things were fine for a few months. I was living alone until the next school year would start and wasn't home all the time, since I would go over to my boyfriend's a lot and sleep over. It was a split house with an apartment in the basement and ours on the first floor. It wasn't long until I started to notice things happening. We'd get a good amount of rain since we were in the Midwest by some big local lakes, and it was springtime. We'd get a good amount of water, and the concrete steps to the house would consistently fill up with water I had to jump over, and it would disappear overnight. It also started to get a little bit of a musty smell in the house, and I had started coughing and sneezing all the time, but didn't know why. Soon, the other girls moved in, and we started having some difficulties with dumbass landlord. He wouldn't tell us when he'd come over to check on the property. He said he did this to keep up on looks and mow the lawn, but he did it way too often for any of us to be okay with. He would argue with us about having a copy of our own lease. He'd yell at us to give him rent payments in cash, especially before going to his cabin up north with his girlfriend. But the biggest of all was that we were having problems with mold, and he did not care. For a while, we hadn't talked to the people in the basement apartment until everyone started having problems with dumbass landlord. We'd hear them arguing and yelling down below about as often as we would upstairs. But they were in a hellhole. Everything they owned had mold growing on it. They had bugs everywhere, earwigs, beetles, ants, you name it. They were constantly throwing away their clothes, dishes, furniture, even their college papers and homework, since it was all growing mold. They spent money on plastic bins to hold most of their important items, but even those would get moldy. We also found out that they were supposed to have another roommate down below, but she couldn't live there from her allergies to mold after signing a lease agreement. We also found out that dumbass landlord verbally abused her and her mother on the phone, to the point where they were crying and she couldn't get out of the lease. She ended up paying for 2 places every month so that she didn't have to live there because he wouldn't let her break her lease and didn't care. Upstairs wasn't as bad as the basement, but it wasn't good either. All of us were coughing more and more each month. We would wake up coughing in the middle of the night and we were getting really sick. We tried to air out the house as best we could, but nothing helped. I ended up getting a severe case of strep throat so bad that every swallow I took made my eyes water and made me verbally make noise from the pain. I tried to ask the doctor I went to if he could prove that this was from mold later, but he unfortunately couldn't give me a solid statement on it. Me, being a vocal, neutral good person, who was also going to school to be an architect, tried to explain to him what was going on in the house. No air circulation. His concrete steps and foundation walls were not sealed, so all of the water I'd have to jump over was most likely going into the basement walls, causing most all of the mold. We also found a few areas on the roof that needed patching, since we noticed some leaks, among other things. And the basement apartment had cheap patio doors for their only means of entrance and exit, which would consistently be up against water when it rained, adding to the problem. Oh, smart dumbass landlord decided that we were all just girls complaining about silly things that didn't mean anything, so he brushed us off and said we were fine, even though I had told him that I was learning about these things in school and knew what I was talking about. He wouldn't let us out of the lease, as hard as we tried. So all of us girls in both apartments decided we would get out if it was the last thing we did. Then began researching all of the legal apartment and tenant information for our state and city to get out. We were paying for attorney fees, started taking pictures of the mold upstairs and downstairs that we could find, talking with several different city staff and police, and started compiling this into a nice document. After deferring my rent payment to get a copy of the lease agreement from dumbass landlord, we could finally take a look at our legal document and use that further to get out. We were also working with another landlord at a renting company in town, who I will call good ass landlord. He was, thankfully, doing his best to get us out of the shithole and into his apartment. Through him, we'd get all of the legal ins and outs of the renting business, and he would help us find a loophole. Then, after months and months of arguments, money, and researching, we found it. If we sent in a mold test to a research lab and it was over the limit of what was inhabitable, we could get out. It was safe to say we had a pretty good idea it was over the limit. The tests came back a few days later, and we sent that off to the city, including our nice document of pictures, statements, and leasing agreements. Not even 4 hours went by, and we got a call from the city. Our house was so full of mold that we were to move out of the apartment within 24 hours, and it was to be condemned. We were ecstatic. All of that hard work had finally paid off, although it was horrifying to know that the mold count was so high. The mold researcher who had been in the business for more than 30 years had not once seen a place with higher mold count than this house. Yes, this included black mold. Fast forward to us happily packing up in our house, all of our parents getting us out together, us moving into the apartment that good ass landlord kept open for us to move into, and poor, old, dumbass landlord sobbing in our driveway as we happily stack boxes into cars, complaining that he should have paid more attention and listened to us. This was his girlfriend's property and she's going to dump him. We all took a picture the next day, smiling in front of the condemned signs. It's still one of my favorite pictures to this day. Serves him right for not listening to his tenants. Update. Since a lot of people had asked, and my responses are buried in the comments below, I've decided to post them up here. As for the aftermath of it all, apparently, the city knew about a lot of shady things he did. When we spoke to them, it seemed like he was an eye-roll landlord. They all knew of other problems he had with tenants, but no one had been able to do anything about it until us. He'd sneak his way out of things, since it was a really small town. Unfortunately, there weren't a lot of rules set in place for bad landlords, unless they did something really illegal, which is why we had a really hard time getting out of there. Also, about a year or so later, I saw more college students living there again. We are pretty sure he did one of those at-home mold testing kits to get it up for sale again, or fought the city somehow. I don't know what he ended up renovating, other than he ripped out a lot of carpet. I felt bad for those new people. Just wish them the best, and hope they don't have as bad of an experience as we did. I wish it had turned out different in the end, but I hope he learned his lesson, to actually help his tenants when they need it. I don't hate the guy, but I think he has some things to work out for himself. Some people are also asking why we didn't sue. We could have, but it wasn't worth the money and time, since we were all graduating in a few months and broke from speaking with lawyers. We did see what we could do about it, though. We just decided that getting out of the house and cutting ties would be the best, instead of dragging the situation out further. Thank you all for watching to the end of the video. But before you go, please like and subscribe for more. Not many of you at all that watch are subscribed or like the video, and this makes me unsure if I should continue to make more content or not. So if you want more content, please like and subscribe. If you don't want to miss out on any future videos, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button. Also, please give me some feedback in the comments section about what I can do better. because not many people comment on my videos, so I have no idea of people's opinions of thoughts about this YouTube channel. So yeah, that's all from me. If you have subscribed and liked the video, please consider sharing the video with your friends. Thanks and bye. I'm still doing daily uploads, so hope to see you in tomorrow's video. Bye.